Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings versus Cleveland Browns Week 8 matchup based on analytics. Each week, I collect all of the 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. And since it's a weekly collection, there will always be some fluidity in terms of keeping track of team trends. However, there will always be little nuggets of truth that could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And if you're new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So starting with this particular game of the Vikings versus the Browns. And I got bad news for the Browns. Based on the NFL stat-based comparisons, the Vikings are heavily favored in this game. It shouldn't be surprising, but that just seems what it's like. So let's get to it. Let's get through it. So why are the Vikings so heavily favored? Well, first off, when you look at the total O score and the total D score, the total O score is the ability to create first downs on offense, and the total D score is the ability to prevent first downs on defense, and get first downs on offense is what the total O score is. And both of those scores are heavily in favor of the Vikings. The Vikings are just simply better at creating first downs, better at preventing first downs. Both those things are good indicators for winning football games. Then you look at turnover ratio. Vikings have a 91.50 turnover ratio percent, which is out of 100, which is, good. Basically, the higher that number is on offense, the better it is. And the Browns have a .47 turnover percentage. This is since 1998, by the way. So, not good. Then you look at sack percentage, the ability to prevent sacks. Vikings, 93.39. Browns, 40.31. And on top of that, unfortunately, they lost Joe Thomas to injury, triceps injury. So, that definitely is going to affect that, to say the least. Then you get to offensive score percentage. Offensive score percentage is basically how often do you score on offense. How many points, how many drives end up with points on the board. And the Vikings are much better than that than the Browns. The Browns are hanging out with a 2.36. So they just can't put points on the board. But then when you look at defensive offensive score percentage, that's where the Browns are shining a bit. The Browns actually have an average NFL defense this year. Woohoo, But yeah, in that way, the Browns do have an advantage there. However, the Vikings are better when it comes to turnover percentage. The defense of the Vikings is better at creating turnovers on defense. The defense of the Vikings is also better when it comes to creating sacks on defense and getting interceptions on defense. So, despite the slight advantage that the Browns have in terms of their defense's ability to prevent points, it's negated by the Vikings and their ability to create sacks and their ability to create interceptions. And sacks, I think, is going to be a big thing in this game because of Joe Thomas's injury. Drango might have some success. I mean, we'll see. But I really doubt it. I mean, he's nowhere near the athlete that Joe Thomas was, and lacks a lot of different things. So I won't get into all that stuff, but I don't see this as that great for the Browns. And then, of course, you get to special teams. When it comes to punt return yardage and kick return yardage, Vikings have it there. When it comes to preventing punt return yardage, Vikings have it there. And kick return yardage is also in favor of the Browns. Field goal percentage, heavily in favor of the Vikings. And field goal percentage, again, is very important when it comes to close games. You don't want to get into close games with a very poor field goal percentage, which the Browns have a 5.98 out of 100. So even if this is a weird week and the Vikings get into this game and it's really close, the Vikings will inevitably have a better advantage of winning this game because of their field goal percentage. And then on top of that, you look at extra point percentage, which is in favor of the Browns, and punting average is in favor of the Browns. So the Browns are better in terms of punting. But the overall data favors the Vikings. I really don't have much else to say here, but you can clearly see on the data, on the chart here, that there is a vast difference between how the Vikings are playing on offense, defense, and special teams, and how the Browns are playing in all those phases. So let's get into some other sort of data points. This is completion percentage data. This is the Browns completion percentage versus the Vikings when it comes to completion percentage. And again, common theme. Browns are below average in first, second, and they're the worst team in the NFL currently when it comes to third down completion percentage. That's not good, especially when you're facing the Vikings, who are one of the better teams in the NFL on defense when it comes to third down completion percentage, preventing third down completion. So, not good. Not a good situation. Then you look at the Vikings offense versus the Browns defense. Vikings heavily favored in terms of this on first, second, and third down. Then you look at rushing downs. Browns rushing offense versus Vikings rushing defense, and the Vikings are actually favored here on first and third downs. The Vikings have a relatively strong running defense. They're one of the stronger running defenses in the NFL when it comes to situational football. And the only area where the Browns might have some success is second down, but it's just weird. So, I mean, I see the Vikings having more of the advantage here in terms of the run. And then, of course, you look at the Vikings rushing offense versus the Browns rushing defense. And the Browns are actually favored here. The Browns also have a fairly strong rushing defense on first and second down. And third down is kind of more evenly matched. But I'll be I don't know if it'll matter that much. But I mean, this is definitely going to be a game where they're going to force them to pass, which brings us to the pass, which is the Browns passing offense versus the Vikings passing defense. And pretty much, again, heavily favors the Vikings. Not only are the Browns not only are the Browns the worst team in the NFL when it comes to third down completion percentage, they're also the worst team in the NFL when it comes to converting on third down in the NFL. So that's not good. Then, of course, you look at the Vikings offense versus the Browns defense in terms of the pass, and this heavily favors the Vikings as well on second and third down. Again, the Browns defense has gotten better. I will give them that. They're at least the average defense right now. When you have a strong run game, I mean, just look at the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins, for example. The Dolphins have a strong run game. Their passing defense is meh, but they have a strong running game. Whenever you have that, you have at least one good thing about your defense. You're able to kind of build on that. But passing defense is paramount to winning football games. So as much as I can praise the Browns on their rushing defense, say, wow, good job for stopping the run. Stopping the run really doesn't matter that much in terms of winning football games nowadays. Like, it really doesn't matter as much as it used to in the last couple of decades even. So this is definitely an area that I think they need to address going forward into the future. If they want to get better, they need to get better in terms of their passing defense. So I just want to add that little aside. Then, of course, you look at sack rate. This is the Browns offense versus the Vikings defense when it comes to sacks. And this also heavily favors the Vikings in that regard. And yeah, I mean, the Vikings defense, I think, will get a lot of sacks, especially with Joe Thomas missing. So this is definitely going to be something to watch because of that. Then you look at the Vikings offense versus the Browns defense when it comes to sacks, and this heavily favors the Vikings, except for third down. The Vikings, in terms of sacks allowed, the Vikings typically allow sacks on third down situations more so than first and second. So there might be a shot that they get some sacks in third down. But we'll see. But that's the only crack so far in terms of the down and distance where they usually give up sacks. Then you look at interception ratio. So this is the Browns offense versus the Vikings defense. Not good. Vikings defense heavily favored here. And then, of course, you look at the Vikings offense versus the Browns defense. And heavily favors the Vikings. The Vikings just don't really turn the football over, as I mentioned before, with their turnover ratios. So how do I feel about this game? Well, I think it's a Vikings victory. I mean, there's no other way around it. I think their passing offense will be able to shine in this game. This is not the defense that you really want to face, especially when you're struggling. Cody Kessler, I'm not 100% sure about this, so you guys will, fact check me or not, but I'm pretty sure Cody Kessler is going to be the starting quarterback in this game. So it's going to throw off a lot of this stuff as well, because a lot of this stuff is mostly Kaiser based. Most of the data I'm trumpeting here is Kaiser-based data, so it hasn't been good. So hopefully it's Kessler. Hopefully maybe there might be some improvements, but overall, I just think that this definitely is more so in favor of the Vikings on offense, defense, and special teams, and that is why I'm going to go Vikings here. And of course, you can find my other work at giraffecoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics, and if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.